Hello and welcome to Kaleidoscope the Podcast. Series 4, all about me and chemotherapy and the stories in and around that. Um, Today will be about wig fitting, assessment and treatment 2, and going out. If you are not in the head, heart, mind, emotional space to listen to this, please go listen to something fun. Maybe dance to some music, whatever. I love that you know your boundaries and you're looking after them. And I will see you hopefully in series 5. For those of you that have stayed, this is actually my top that I go for all my assessments and all my treatments, because the sleeves of this actually come right up so that we can get at. And on the other side, it goes right up as well, obviously, so they can do blood pressure and stuff. And it's T, which is the colour of the ribbon for ovarian cancer. Certainly for granulosa cell tumor. So yay. Because I was seen by the consultant on the 30th of December, and then I had a decision to make, which I then phoned in to the clinical nurse specialist. Some things got missed with me and I fell through the cracks a little bit because of the timing issue. I should have been fitted when I seen the staff nurse on assessment 1. On assessment 1, she was asking about the veins. They should have been done before she seen me, but we got the PICC line and etc. sorted in a timely manner, which was grand. It all worked out fine. Everything works out perfectly. And she'd asked had I been fitted for a wig. No. So shortly after, I don't know, 2 or 3 days after treatment, I got a phone call from police. Now we missed each other and it was grand because then I had the crash on the Friday and Saturday. So the following week I got through to Tresses, and there's photographs and a little video on my social media channels. I get fitted for a wig, and I've never actually opened this because, as you can see, probably because I didn't go ahead with the Taxol, I only ended up with the carboplatin after treatment 1, which we haven't discussed yet. We'll get to that when we talk about assessment 2. I never actually opened this, so Ferrucci, Ellen Y. Tiny hair you will love. So I've never tried this on. Obviously, I tried it on but I haven't tried it on since. So this could be a bit of a disaster. I think it was a picture we're meant to open, but by the looks of it, it's already open. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Makes for great viewing, doesn't it? Me playing around with the wig. Anyway, the best it was when they fitted this wig, my hair was a whole lot shorter, so it looks even worse. Now I suppose I should have put it up. But there you go. There's the wig. Very neat. Isn't it very neat? It's not like my hair at all. And I suppose I could, yeah, lovely. I look like a newsreader. So, but my hair is falling out more often than it used to, but not obviously in big chunks. And I could do with getting it cut, but that means going into a place with lots of people, and I'm not quite there yet, but I am making progress. So after I got the wig fitted, and of course it was all masked up, and the girl, every time I took the mask off to take a photograph, she masked, which was great. She understood what we're going through, and understood that for some reason I'd been missed and I was being seen after my first treatment instead of before my first treatment. And they were very good. Obviously, that's probably 90% of their customer clients. because they're just across the road from the hospital, kind of at the back of the cancer centre. So I'd say at least 90% of their clients. So that was a day out for me. It was an adventure to get out of the house and to go for a lovely wake, which I'm now stroking like it's a cat. If it starts purring. Anyway, so assessment 2, I seen a registrar, which was strange. And it was all very strange because the nurses had to come really early, which I hated having to say to them a specific time, but I had to say to them, you need to come before this to change the because I had been told that the hospital wouldn't change the dressing. They would. The nurse offered it to me. It's very bizarre. So I don't know where they got the idea that they wouldn't change the dressing. So the nurses came, changed the dressing, and that was happening every Monday up until recently. Now it happens on a Friday. And got the bloods taken, results come. Some people are very good and hit the results and they're almost in my phone before I left the appointment. Others, if you don't ask them, then they don't do it. And you've got to phone in and ask for the results to be. So my hemoglobin is going down again. So who knows what that's all about. She talked to me about the reaction that I'd had in treatment 1, where I'd reacted to the Taxol, which is unusual for it to happen in treatment 1, and it's unusual for it to happen when they restarted. And she asked all about the symptoms and stuff I'd had at home, and I told her. And Catherine, Stephen, and I had done research on the thing we were told, the Dozy Taxol, which could be the replacement for the Carbotaxol. And actually, the side effects of it, not the reaction to it, but the side effects of it are much, much worse in the research that we did. And the people that were writing about it, that we see, were much worse. And she couldn't reassure us that actually it wasn't. So I think that's the standard is it kind of, the docetaxel can be, for some people, the side effects can be much worse. So I had decided I wasn't doing that because what I'd been through was quite enough with the side effects, etc. from the very little that I had on the rescue meds. And the thing about all these appointments is Stephen goes with me to every appointment. He even takes me to my scans. Now, there was once in 11 years I was ill after a scan and I had to drive home and go to bed. I couldn't go back to work. And since then, he even takes me for my scans, which I could drive myself for. But he's, no, you were ill once, we're not chancing it again. And so nothing's private, nothing's a mystery. Like, he knows things I wouldn't choose for him to know in any other given circumstances. Because you're asked about all your bodily functions. And if things aren't working right, you're given, and they need to because they give you meds, because they expect, it tells you the side effects are diarrhea, constipation, feeling sick, so on and so forth. So there's all these and adjustments to certain medications, so if one's making you, if you're still nauseous with one, they'll change you to another one and so on and so forth. So downgraded from the consultant to registrar. And they wanted to see me, so we'd hoped, they'd said right at the very beginning, they'd hoped they would only see me for the first and second assessment, and after that it would be telephone calls. But because I'd had such a severe reaction, and because I'd had then such a severe crash after the first treatment, they would want to see me in clinic again. And I had said about, could I get assessed and treated on the same day? And she said, no, once you're kind of scheduled in, you're scheduled in, and we can't change it. So we came home, we both slept for some reason. Obviously, we hadn't slept before the appointment, we'd slept. And again, and this time we had the sense, Stephen made a big pot of vegetable soup on the Sunday. And he fell asleep on the sofa and I went up to bed. So we were ever so glad when we got up at 6 o'clock that there was a pot of soup on, that we just had to eat. And I think he'd been thinking, well, it's not going to be as bad and it's not going to be as long. So this is a silly thing to do. And actually, we were like, no, this was a really sensible thing to do. And we'll keep doing it. We'll keep making vegetable soup on the Sunday before treatment, just in case. So we went up the next day, and it was an afternoon appointment for some reason. So we had the morning, piddling about here, doing stuff. And we went up, and the treatment's half an hour. So we were in and out in an hour because you get a flush first and they weigh you, even though they've weighed you the day before, they weigh you again. They check your bloods and check your name and all that again. And there's always two, and one reads out what the treatment is to the other one who puts it on the computer and so on and so forth. And they do a little flush and a return to make sure that the PICC line is working. And we got the treatment and away we went. And we had vegetable soup that night as well. And I did have the chemo crash on the Friday and the Saturday. Nowhere near severe as it had been after treatment one, but it still happened. And I had been self-isolating from whatever the first date was the 19th of January, 20th of January. She's lifting her little book. I have a little chemo book because, after the first treatment, the 20th of January. So I'd been self-isolating from the 20th of January. And from the first treatment, for the whole month, I had been writing down my blood sugars because there's an issue with, I'm pre-diabetic now. And there's an issue with taking steroids and your blood sugars. So I was writing it down. Then I put it in an Excel sheet and I averaged it out and I took all that with me. And I didn't need it. They're not interested in the blood sugars. It's if it goes over 12, then I have to do my blood sugars 4 times a day. And if it goes over 20, then I have to phone the hospital. But they don't, it's not that they're not interested, but they don't need the results daily. I need to know the results. And I was writing down signs and symptoms and all that jazz. So I kind of summarised it all before I went into assessment 2. But I've been self-isolating. I'm trying to find it now when my treatment was and when I went out. I got bored. I had it at hand. I was reading it the other day. I was reading it there earlier. I got bored and a little bit stir crazy, a little bit so I took myself off to the drive-throughs to get a little bit of lunch and coffee because I do live. Oh, there it is there, the 18th of February, so almost a month. Not quite a month. Didn't make it a month. For almost a month of being in. And I'd gone out with Stephen for walks and things where it was just me and him, and it was places where there were very few people, reasonably early in the morning and stuff like that. But that was the first time I'd driven the car. I broke my ankle 2022. And it was that long since I had driven that even only, it's only round the corner from me, my ankle was sore when I got home. So it was like, right, I need to walk more and I need to do my heel raises and I need to do all that stuff to keep the ankle going. And so because they were interested in the signs and the symptoms, they weren't interested in the blood sugar, I've kind of stopped writing in the wee book as often. What I do write in the book is the week of treatment, particularly the symptoms and signs for the crash. So I was only going to do assessment 2 and treatment 2 in this conversation, but actually that took so little time. I'm going to go on to assessment 3 and treatment 3. So assessment 3 was a prescribing nurse. So, actually, and here's the thing I need to apologise to the hospital for. Because at assessment 3, when I went into the cancer centre to check in for the assessment, and this was the first time the girl said this to me, obviously different staff, she said, yeah, you just check in at the Bridgewater. And so I read the letter properly. The way they write the letter is, Dear Valerie, check in at the Bridgewater suite on you have been appointed, whatever, the Bridgewater suite this time. And then they give you the second date, so the 2nd of March. Treatment, 3rd of March. Check in at the cancer centre. I had never read the first line, which said check in at the Bridgewater suite. So apologies to Belfast City Hospital for saying they were making me walk further than I needed to. And the other thing that happened, which just reminded me, on the 12th of February, I got my blue badge for my car, so I can actually park in accessible parking. Now, I won't if I don't need to, but there are days when I need to. And on the days that I need to, I absolutely do. I needed it yesterday, and it was great to be able to park closer to the shops than I would otherwise have done. Now, Stephen, very, very good. There's times where he would drop me off and go and park the car, and I find a wee seat, and then he comes and joins me, or he gets me as close to where we're going as he possibly can without being in an accessible parking spot. But I got my blue badge, but I will only use it when I need it. So, assessment 3, I prescribing nurse. I'm relegated again. Find out didn't need to go to the cancer centre. Should only be going to the Bridgewater centre. So, and not surprisingly, my blood sugar was up because that was just after my birthday weekend. Birthday's on the 27th of February. This was the 2nd of March. My blood sugar was high. But my platelets are low. So when the platelets are low, you've got to watch out for bruising, unexplained bruising. And I'm like, I have ADHD. I walk into everything. I don't even know where my bruises come. There are times when I walk into a door handle and I go, oh, another bruise, and I'll give it a quick rub in the hope that the bruise doesn't come. Doorways, forever hitting doorways. Thankfully, so far, and today's the 18th of March, there haven't been any unexplained bruises. There are dark circles that are getting darker, and when I'm really tired, they're really, really dark under my eyes. But that's about it. The nurses tried to do the pick line. I had cancelled the community nurses because I hate saying to them, can you be here before? And my appointment was really early. And I just thought, there's no way. The reason I hate saying to them is because there are other patients who their medication is time sensitive. And so if they have to come to me for a certain time, they've kind of got to squeeze people in, or they've got to be quicker, they've got to be, and we had a reasonably early appointment. So I just cancelled the community nurses for that morning and asked the nurses up at the hospital to change, and they were like, absolutely, not a problem. It was great. And I had a lovely, lovely wee nurse. However, as experienced and everything else as she was, she couldn't get the pick line to work. So then she went and got another nurse. It's funny, you hear all these things about, you don't inject like air into veins and stuff because it's dangerous. It could get to the heart. They were pumping me like I was a balloon. So obviously it doesn't work in quite the same way as pumping straight into a vein or whatever. Obviously. But I'm saying that to him, I know you're going to blow me up here till I take off like a balloon and so on and so forth, because you got to make light. I've got to make light of these things because there's nothing I can do in those instances to make the thing work any better. So I had to have another X-ray. Assessment 2, I had to have an X-ray because of the bowels working intermittently. So I had to have another X-ray, but this time of the chest to see the pick line, where the pick line was. And and the PICC line was in the right place. That was not the problem. So what can happen is a wee flap. So it's obviously the body's trying to repair itself, and it's got this foreign object in it that it's trying to get rid of. And so they have to give me a solution that dissolves that flap, that skin, um, to allow the PICC line to work again. So we got the PICC line working, but then my appointment that morning was 10:30. I wasn't getting my treatment. The nurse, so this prescribing nurse, this is the good thing about working with nurses rather than registrars or consultants. She was able to switch appointments around for me and get me my treatment that day, so we didn't have to go up on the Tuesday, which was great. Then meant my crash days were going to be Thursday and Friday instead of Friday and Saturday. And so they booked me in from 4:30 for treatment. And we hadn't again taken our Kindles or our books or our iPads or whatever because we didn't know we were going to be there. So once again, we thought we were going to be in and out in an hour or so. But anyway, so I was due treatment at 4:30. We had lunch in chat in the cancer centre, and then we went up to board 3. I ended up receiving treatment at about 5:30. But it is so quick, the half an hour, even the flushing and the return of the blood and da-da-da-da. I was home for 6:30 and was in a private room for the second time. Treatment 2 was in a wee private room, which is lovely. I don't mind being in a ward with other people, but it's nice to be in a wee private room. And of course, by that stage, I was that tired. I normally have a nap about 3:00, and I wasn't able to nap, and I was that tired. I was like, but I can't go to sleep because this will only be half an hour. And if I'd known I was going to have to wait from 4:30 to 5:30 for my treatment, I might have had a wee nap. But I didn't. One of the things I talked about to the prescribing nurse was these headaches and the fact that I had ended up some of them are like floating headaches. It sounds ridiculous, but it feels like it's a square that kind of floats over your head, this pain. And I'd had 2 auric headaches on the 23rd and the 25th of February, and that's only the 4th migraines I have ever had. And you get these zigzaggy lines, and then have to sleep like for hours after it. And then you get the pain. You don't get the pain with the zigzaggy lines and the blank spots in your eyesight. So you go to the optician, and because I was only having carboplatin, they're increasing the dosage. And I said, well, that would be, and she says, shouldn't make your crashes any worse. Now, I have to say, it didn't make the crash any worse on the Thursday. The Thursday was quite good. So it made it happen earlier because I was treated on the Monday instead of the Tuesday. Thankfully, Catherine was already off on the Thursday. Antrim Community Support Hub were having a fundraiser for me, and the dog needed groom, so she was leaving the dog at the groomers and then going to the community hub to represent me, which was lovely for me that she was able to do that for me, and then coming home to make sure I was okay. And the crash started about 8:00 on the Thursday night and lasted to 8:00 on the Friday night. And because so the nurses that did the treatment were saying, why are you not getting your bloods done by the community nurse? And I said, because I was told to get my bloods done here on a Monday morning. But if you get your bloods done on a Friday, then you don't need to be here all day. You can come. I'm like, okay. So they've changed my community nurses from a Monday to a Friday. And unfortunately, this was the first time I'd seen this nurse whilst I was having a crash. And I couldn't honestly tell you at that point in time but it was what really sent me over the edge. But it was a lovely, lovely sunny day, and this room gets the sun all morning. So I don't know whether it was the sun, the heat. I was just feeling that bad anyway. But I couldn't even let her take my blood pressure, and I had to take 2 breaks during her changing the dressing on the prick line. Um, and by 8 o'clock that night, I wasn't better, but I was certainly better than I had been. And Saturday was a bit easier, Sunday was a bit easier, and then that next week, you kind of start to come round. But also that next week, we got offered a week in Hope House. I think it was that week. Yeah, last week. We got offered 4 days in Hope House, which is a home on Browns Bay. They have Hope House and they have the lodge. And we were in the lodge because it sleeps 2. In Browns Bay in Island McGee, which is, as far as I know, the only free accommodation, holiday type accommodation for adults with cancer in Northern Ireland. And it was a friend of mine had said, "Can I apply for this for you?" And I said, "Well, I can apply for it myself," but I was very glad she'd reminded me of it. And I first knew of Hope House because Catherine had bought me deodorant from a little business called Truly Blessed. Who was a lady who was a cancer patient, and she was an aromatherapist, and so she made all of her stuff from essential oils and coconut oil and that kind of stuff. And that's how and all her profits went to Hope House. So I knew about it years and years ago. That lady, Janice, unfortunately died a couple of years ago in 2024. And so because I wasn't buying deodorants and stuff from her, I had completely forgot about it. So I was very grateful that my friend reminded me. And so Stephen and I went and had 4 days in Browns Bay, walking on the beach, going around to Portmuck, wee drives round Island McGee into Carrickfergus. And I kind of broke my self-isolation without meaning to, because we'd gone to coffee shops and we were going to try and get some dinner and all this. And usually what we do with coffee shops is we go in and we get the stuff and we sit in the car and go sit on the beach and whatever when we're in Port Stewart, whatever, or sit outside a lot of the times. And we couldn't get, the coffee shops were all shut by the time we got there because you check in at 3, and of course it was like 4 o'clock before we went to any of these places. And so we ended up in a shop, and it was only getting something for dinner, and it was only about halfway around it I went, "I'm in a shop." And Steve went, "So you are?" And I'm like, it's kind of tiny, quite, it wasn't tiny, but it was really, the shelves and stuff were really close together. So like, okay. So the next day we actually went for coffees in places. We went out to eat in place, and that was the first time I'd eaten out in a restaurant since the weekend before the first treatment in January. So it was very lovely. It was very lovely to be normal, to not have to worry about appointments or nurses and they had thought of everything. There was everything in that wee lodge. Like I say, it wasn't we. Sleeps 2. Dining table seats 4. That a big sofa would have sat about 6 or 8 people. So it's not we. Really comfy bed. Slept really, really well, both of us. And it was just lovely to just be us without hospital appointments or nurses or any of that. So I kind of broke my self-isolation by accident without meaning. And that, in a way, that really, it was great to do it that way because it showed me I wasn't frightened anymore. Because if I was still frightened, I'd have been sitting in the car and saying, you go in and pick something for dinner. I just stay here. And so it was lovely to go out for coffees and to go out for dinner. And we still sat away from people, you know. Oh, yeah. So on Mothering Sunday, at 9 a.m. on Mothering Sunday, I had a CT scan, which is a halfway through CT scan. And it will tell us whether the treatment is working or not. And so I suppose when I see the consultant this Monday coming, there may be a decision have to be made on whether, depending on the results of the CT scan, whether it's working, whether the treatment's working or not. But after we'd been to the hospital at 9 a.m. on Mothering Sunday, the girls were lovely. It was fine, and we had a laugh and all about it being Mothering Sunday and them having to work and so on and so forth. Me having to get out of my bed. Stephen and I went out for coffee. So I kind of arranged to meet at least one friend this week. Unfortunately, she took sick. And I loved the fact that she was like, okay, so we're postponing this because I'm not coming near you. And I'm very, very grateful that she thought enough of me to postpone our coffee until such times as she's well enough for us to go out. So there you go. It has been, there you go. You get assessment 2, treatment 2, wig fitting, assessment 3, me going for a drive on my own and that hurting my ankle, so I know I have to look after my ankle better. Getting my blue badge for the car so I can park in accessible parking. Breaking my self-isolation by accident, but it being lovely and knowing that I'm obviously feeling more secure about everything that's happening. And assessment 3 and assessment 3 and assessment 4 at my little holiday, courtesy of Hope House Ireland. And that's when I broke my self-isolation. So there you go, you're up to date. Until I go for assessment 4 on Monday. You're up to date. And the nurses are coming on Friday and they'll take my bloods this Friday. So this was the other, talk about early mornings. They had me down for my next assessment at 8:30 in the morning on the Monday, whatever that is, the 23rd. And my treatment at 4:30 on the Monday afternoon. And having been there, I understand. They do your weight, they do your bloods, and the stuff is made up for you. It's not a 250 milligram stuff that you can take off a shelf. I get that. I absolutely understand that. So I said to Stephen, can we go to the museum or something? And he said, let's go to the Lego shop in Victoria Square. And I went, didn't even know there was a Lego shop in Victoria Square. So yeah, we'll have time to fill. I actually phoned them then and said, the nurses are taking the bloods for me on the Friday, so do I really need to come at 8:30? And they went, we can change that. I just 9:30. So yeah. I think, well, at least it's a little bit later. At least it's a little bit later. But we'll go and we'll see the consultant and have a conversation about the CT results. I'm going to have a conversation with her about the cysts, because I think those are what is, they're so heavy that I think they're the problem when I'm walking. And the breathing, I think the breathing is both the cysts, because I'm carrying the weight of the cysts, and the hemoglobin. So I want to have a conversation with her with all of that. And maybe that I need to go back to my own doctor about the hemoglobin, but I'll let her tell me that. Who knows? Could be the consultant, could be the registrar, could be the prescribing nurse. Who knows? I'll get to see. And then I'll update you after all that about how it goes. And I'm not promising when I'll update you, because I expect the crash on the... You feel a bit yucky on the Tuesday and the Wednesday after treatment. There's no denying it. You're better than you are on the Thursday, Friday. Much better. But you're not right. You're not 100% right. And so I can't promise. I don't do a lot of work that week. And then I don't do a lot of work the next week because I'm recovering from the treatment. So there you go. That's you up to date. Don't know when the next update will be, but I will update you as soon as I feel able. Until next time, thank you so much. And I wish you good emotional well-being.